Has your partner ever said to you, "I don't think I could live without you"? If you're in a relationship with a bipolar person, that phrase can make you feel really worried or even trapped. I have bipolar disorder myself, and I've said that many times because the thought of a breakup makes me feel physically ill, like I might throw up or literally die from the pain. No one wants to feel trapped in a relationship, and "I can't live without you" is going to be hard for either of you to live with. I'm Patty, the girl with blue energy. I have bipolar disorder and I make videos about mental health and personal growth. So I'm going to explain a little bit why we're like this and why we're attracted to you. We generally have really strong, intense emotions and have a hard time controlling and regulating them. We crave emotional stability, so we tend to be attracted to partners who are more emotionally stable than us. And we start to rely on you to help us regulate our emotions. And when you can't or don't do that for us, we don't like that feeling and it makes us feel unstable in the relationship. Now, if you are a partner, you might be attracted to our intensity or our neediness for reasons I'll get into a little bit later. But for us, you make us feel safe and stable. We have these really strong emotions when it comes to separating from someone, which I'm going to talk about a little bit later, but you have to know that those feelings, no matter how horrible they are, matter how much they trigger you, they do eventually pass. And if you have a hard time dealing with your emotional reactions to your partner, get a therapist. Therapy has helped me a great deal, and I think it will help, honestly, both partners in a bipolar relationship, but particularly you. Some things you need to know if you're in a relationship with a bipolar person. You have to keep your emotions separated. Our emotions are so intense that they will affect yours and make it hard for you to make decisions or deal with your own emotions in the relationship. So try to keep your emotions separated from ours and stay slightly detached so that we don't pull on you too strongly. When you make decisions, you need to make decisions that are best for you. Don't let our emotional neediness or "I can't live without you" guilt you or worry you into making decisions that are not best for you. Even if you're worried about us, you are not responsible for us. You are not responsible for our emotions, or if we react and do something to harm ourselves or any of those things. You're going to sometimes feel that responsibility in a relationship with a bipolar person, but you have to look out for your emotional needs and not let our heaviness or our emotions keep you from doing what keeps you stable. No matter where you're at in your relationship, neither partner should feel any sort of obligation to keep the other partner alive. That's not how healthy relationships work. If you're in a relationship with a bipolar partner, you will probably find that you have really good chemistry. We are the ones that bring the spark, that bring the passion, that get you all lit up. We usually give our partners a ton of attention in the beginning, and we might even love bomb you. Now, most people see love bombing associated with narcissism. In the case with bipolar disorder, that's not always what's going on. We can be narcissists, but just because we love bomb you doesn't mean we are narcissistic. That's just what we do. We tend to get obsessed and shower our partners with attention at first. And part of that is because we often idealize our partner and we think they are the one. They can do no wrong. They are awesome. And so we will not see any of our compatibility issues, any flaws in our partner, and we will probably ignore any red flags. Now, one of the reasons you might like us is because most of us, if we don't have issues with hypersexuality, we have a really high sex drive. So we will have really amazing sex, great chemistry, great passion, and that will make us feel more emotionally connected to you and you us. Most of us have attachment issues. Some of them stem from childhood trauma, either parents getting divorced or some type of abandonment issue from childhood, or we have simply crazied away a lot of our relationships. We have lost friends and relationship partners because they couldn't handle our bipolar disorder, which makes us a little extra clingy with the people who love us. And we have this huge fear that they're going to leave or that we're going to mess things up in the relationship. One issue we have is when we start to feel the chemistry fading, which is kind of a natural process during a relationship. You're not always going to have that spark and fireworks going. Sometimes the chemistry will start to fade a little. And that will make us feel like you don't love us anymore, everything's falling apart, and we may get even more clingy because of that. And for me, and probably others with bipolar disorder and other mental health conditions, one of the reasons we hold on to you so tightly or want to stay in a relationship and feel like we'll die without you is because breakups are very destabilizing for us. They feel catastrophic. We worry that we're going to spiral, end up in the hospital or worse, because that's been a pattern for a lot of people when they first get diagnosed with their mental health condition, especially with bipolar. The breakup could be what triggered their first major manic episode or first major depression episode. So we're fearful of breakups because they destabilize us. And so we'll hold on to a relationship or get even clingier if we think there's a problem. Remember when I said you might be attracted to our intensity or our neediness? Well, that might be because of a trauma bond. People in bipolar relationships tend to have relationships where there's a trauma bond. This doesn't happen across the board, but a lot of us do get into relationships where we have a shared trauma experience. Often it's child abuse or child neglect. It's something that you share with your partner. And for me, I found that dating people that didn't have trauma in their lives, that had a emotionally stable upbringing, I felt weird in those relationships. I didn't know how to relate with them, and it never felt right or normal to me. And I tended to find partners who understood what I went through as a child or even in some of my adult experiences with my bipolar disorder. So trauma bond can be a big part of why you're attracted to us. You may not realize this directly. It may be more of a subconscious thing that makes you pull closer to us, to our neediness, because you want to heal some sort of trauma by healing us. But trauma bonds are just often part of bipolar relationships. Another reason we get involved, or you might get involved with us over a trauma bond, is because it makes you feel less judged. A lot of us who grew up in childhood homes of abuse and neglect, we always had messy homes. Like, it was always a mess. You didn't want to have people over because it was dirty. You might have roaches in your house or mice in your house, or in my case, spiders. So that became something that you carried on into your adult life. You had a hard time keeping your own home clean and orderly, and that can be a problem in bipolar disorder to begin with. But you might seek out a partner who also experienced child neglect and won't judge you because your house is messy or your life is not in order. So that is another reason why we tend to get involved with people that have similar childhood trauma issues. Even if there isn't a trauma bond in your relationship, bipolar relationships tend to turn into caretaking, either because they want to fix us or sometimes because it makes them feel like they have power in the relationship. But caretaking is often a part of a bipolar relationship, and we both do it. Both partners can have issues with caretaking depending on the dynamic. Something you have to be mindful of, that there's not an imbalance in the relationship. Sure, it's okay to help your partner or for them to help you, but when you see these imbalances, that's when your relationship starts to turn into codependency. Codependency is extremely common in bipolar relationships. If you don't know what codependency is, it's basically a lopsided relationship where one partner does all the giving and the other does all the taking. I put together some signs of codependency in a bipolar relationship, and these are a little more specific than just general codependency signs. So these are some things you might see in your relationship if your bipolar relationship is codependent. The first sign is our moods affect your moods and your moods affect ours. When you're in a bipolar relationship, you will find that your moods get intertwined or codependent. So if your partner starts feeling depressed or gets in a bad mood, it will make you feel depressed or in a bad mood. And if you're in a bad mood, it will make your partner get in a bad mood or get depressed. So if you're going to be the partner of a bipolar person, you need to make sure you have your own tools and resources to manage your emotions, because our moods swing a lot and you don't want to be feeling depressed or stressed or anxious all the time because of our mood swings. You're a people pleaser or they're a people pleaser. There's a whole lot of people pleasing going on in bipolar relationships. And it's hard to say which partner is going to be the people pleaser because it kind of goes both ways. You'd think that it would be the partner of the bipolar person doing the people pleasing, but it often happens the other way. In my relationships, I was usually the people pleaser. Another sign you'll see is you try to control their illness. So you might do things like manage their medication or remind them all the time, did you take your meds? Did you take your meds? Or make sure they're seeing their therapists. It's good to be supportive of your partner, but you shouldn't be managing their illness for them. Now, this is a big one that I used to do, and I bet you see a lot in your relationship. Blames everything on their bipolar disorder. Now, this is a cop-out, but it's also how we deal with things. When I didn't want to confront my partner, I would be like, oh, I'm just having a mood swing. Oh, it's just my bipolar disorder. If that's something you do as the bipolar partner and not actually have that uncomfortable conversation of, no, you made me mad, I don't like when you act like this, or whatever it is that sparks you to say, oh no, I'm just having a mood swing, it's just my bipolar disorder. You need to think about the why you're saying that, because it's probably not just your bipolar disorder. And if you're the partner and your partner tell you that, there's a good chance that that's just a cop-out and there's an actual reason why they acted a certain way or feel a certain way. If you want to learn more about codependency in bipolar relationships, I've written a complete blog post on this, and I've left a link to that in the description. These are a few of the reasons why we might feel like we just can't live without you. If any of this sounds familiar to you and you want to work on improving your relationship so it's not so clingy or codependent, here's a few things you can work on. The first thing is honest communication. When you talk to your partner, make sure you're saying what you really think and feel. And when you're listening to your partner, make sure that there's reciprocity there. So you're not doing all the talking while they're doing the listening, or they're not doing all the talking while you're doing all the listening. There should be a back and forth in the communication in your relationship. Take a look at your responsibilities. Are they even? Are they shared? Or do you feel resentful because you're doing everything? If there's an imbalance in the responsibilities in your relationship, work on that. Talk about it. See where you can unload some of the responsibilities so that the relationship is more fair. Do you use boundaries, and do you respect each other's boundaries? That is something I didn't used to do in my relationship, and people walked all over me. So learn how to use boundaries, and also make sure you're respecting your partner's boundaries. And finally, stop trying to fix each other's problems. Let your partner solve their own problems, even if they don't do it the right way. The more you enable, the less independent they are and the more codependent they are. So stop trying to fix each other. Stop trying to solve each other's problems. Thanks for listening, guys. If you like this video, please help me out and click the like button and hit subscribe. If you want to see more content like this, check out my playlist on bipolar relationships. See you guys again soon.